What the fuck just happened? What? Because this is where a show could fall off if it doesn't have too much of a fun factor. Modern worlds can be boring. But if there's one author I trust that can pull it off, it's definitely this one. I can't believe I'm gonna enjoy a delicacy only known to the rich. Imagine busting a nut over some fucking seaweed rice. Oh, little Nezuko situation going on. But why would the parents only take her? Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, that's not scary at all. This is why we take the stairs. This is why we take the stairs. What the fuck just happened? What? Is this like a weird version of Danny Phantom? Oh my god, what the? Oh shit, that wasn't in my Danny Phantom episode. Holy hell! That's actually like Dark Gathering coded. I mean, I'm not gonna say I feel bad for the guy because he's clearly a fucking psychotic murderer, but now I'm scared of people who aren't psychotic murderers having to deal with this elevator. Okay. If I saw that and someone told me not to say anything, I'd be like, say what about what? If someone with the ability to break, that means break could, in theory, break down the barriers of humans and demons, which could cause complete and utter chaos. See, he's smart. He's recognizing both sides. We can't really trust or distrust. There's too much weirdness going on. That's my MC. Find the third option. I'll be honest, I didn't expect bodily horror. And something that felt straight pulled out of an actual horror anime, but here we are. Just when I think I can't like Demons of the Shadow Realm even more. Episode 3 proves me wrong. Now, of course, those are some of my highlights. You want to catch full live reaction, head on over to Patreon, but damn, we got a lot to talk about. This show has proven itself every episode for me, but even more so with this, because there has been an element of worry ever since I finished episode 1. And that is, I think modern worlds are more boring than fantasy worlds, or very much set in the past and there's a magical element to it. But there's ways to make it work. 100%. But when you go from, you know, what looks to be something that's more of a retro, way set in the past, we're gonna have some magical demon bullshittery, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna have modern cars, modern planes. How interesting is it actually gonna be? And I think, especially with this episode, I now, with my full chest, can say, in Demons of the Shadow Realm can I trust? Look at this as an example, right? Unexpectedly, we can have bodily horror. Because, you know, a girl who's being chased by a killer, a horrible person, objectively bad person, I want to kill you. I mean, yeah, Uno reverse, the demons got him instead. That's really fun because the fact that normal people can't see the spirits, so you end up in a kind of, in a way in this case, something that's very similar to Dark Gathering if you think about it. Animals can kind of sense things that are here, and in fact, sometimes they might be able to completely see it. But unless you can control demons, you're not normally going to be able to see this stuff. Unless, I guess, you're being hunted in this case. So this is a cool way to make the modern setting more refreshing, is that we could be having these life or death battles like this, and people are going to have no idea that a giant fucking fish monster is hunting people down. It could just look like explosions. So that's fun. But I think the biggest thing that surprised me about what they've done is how the MC is responding to the modern world. Now, we did get a little taste of it last episode with him being confused about how a vehicle works, and it gets explained how there's miniature horses that are kind of like making it move. He's like, oh, okay, that kind of works for me. But these two, who are now his adoptive parents, I love how bro straight up was like, yeah, I'm not going to be a single father. I'm going to be a single father who found a younger, attractive wife, and you're going to agree with it. I'm like, okay. It's the way he's responding, because obviously he has his whole family drama, which is the serious side of the show. But then there's all the, I don't understand modern world, and I want to understand modern world. The fact that he now understands how, okay, we got to conserve power when we're done with the toilet, so we got to turn off the lights. We got to flush the toilet, okay. Hand dryers, little too dragon breath for me, so I'm just going to wipe it on my clothes. That's really fun. Or him asking what a cell phone is, right? I'm honestly surprised bro struggled with that. I really feel like he kind of did say like, hey, it's kind of like a voice letter. But if you really just explained it like, hey, imagine the letter you received is being read to you by that person as if they're right there and you completely hear it. They'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. I think you'd understand it. That's really fun to me. But I think what they've done lore-wise with the whole brother and sister dynamic and how you have the concept of break and seal, Break can go through and shatter anything, and Seal the complete opposite. But what happens when these two clash? My mind, it's interpreting it as, well, a black hole would probably form, or the Big Bang. It's too contradictory. It's constantly happening till it would implode. And if that is the case, I could understand why brother and sister needed to be separated. The big question will be is, why did brother get left behind but sister got potentially saved? Or what? I think in terms of lore, they've really done well. And the more I see, the more I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely from the Fullmetal Alchemist author. It's different, 100%. The only real major similarity I get is the way comedy is being directed, with the silly faces and, you know, moments where they're just kind of just being over the top and silly. But damn, there's so much here. And I like the fact that our MC is not an idiot. Now, he is not okay with the sister in terms of what she's done, because to him, innocent villagers were attacked. Same mindset I have. But he also is recognizing that there's secrets being kept on both sides, and the only thing that he can really do is capture the sister and have her answer. Why did our parents... Because from his point of view, the parents abandoned both siblings. But in fact, now we know the real sister was saved, potentially, by the real parents. But from what we've seen of his backstory, the parents seemed very loving towards him. So was it a case of they tried to take both, but for some reason they couldn't get to him? Is it a case of he would have been safer in the village, but she needed to be removed because the fact that, you know, Seal and Break, right, which is, I am assuming each of the siblings has one of them. Seemingly she has Break, or someone on her side does, which is why you could get through the barrier. It would make sense that you can't keep them together. And if Seal is more... It kind of makes sense. You're sealed away in this bubble, away from everyone else. Maybe that's why. But there's a lot to explore. The big thing that... It kind of rubbed me the wrong way last week, I gotta be honest. No one is gonna say what the sister did was morally right, 100%. But how many of these shows have we seen in recent memory, like Attack on Titan, that has shown if you just assume, oh, the start of a show showed a bad thing, therefore, that just means they're going to be completely irredeemable. You're watching with your eyes closed. I would be shocked if by the end of this story, the punchline is, yep, one side is objectively evil. Because that is not how it's being written so far, if you ask me. And I think if you're limiting yourself to just being like, okay, innocent villagers were killed, so therefore they're completely irredeemable. You really think Granny's side hasn't done stuff that's irredeemable? Do you really think our MC might have to do things that are maybe seen as irredeemable from some people? This is clearly, at least in my opinion, a story that's meant to be viewed as you are supposed to be skeptical of everything you're seeing, and most likely the MC is going to be the third viewpoint, that both the sister side and Granny side both had good and bad things. I will be truly shocked if Granny hasn't done as bad, if not worse, things than she's been involved in. And, depending on how they write it, there are ways to write the massacre of that village to actually be completely morally right, depending on if everything in that village was actually bullshit. I don't believe so, but you gotta understand, like, I just think if you limit yourself to this very narrow tunnel vision view of, what a bitch, evil person, you're kind of watching with your eyes closed. And if you did that for Attack on Titan, as an example, it did that, but then it made you expand your worldview as the show went on, and you realize, oh shit, there's evil on both sides. And I very much get the same impression with this. Maybe I'll be wrong, maybe I'll change my tune someday, but for the meantime, I really think people who are just watching it as like, yeah, like, you're supposed to feel bad for a little girl crying for her dead mother, but you're also supposed to be like, the sister's clearly not a psychopath, right? So, like, why would she be okay with that, right? That's how I feel anyway. You let me know your thoughts, though, down below. Make sure you drop a like, share, support, subscribe, ring the bell if you haven't already, and of course, my Patreon for live reactions live over there, and other exclusives, because you know I love to give those video shout-outs to my patrons, or make it all possible over here on YouTube. Alright, so today we got a Lunar, a Taco Gamer, Taco Tuesday, Brandon J. Wright, Pokemon 222, 888, Sharon, The Gentleman, and Derek Nichols. So I appreciate the support. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.